Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for joining us today. I'm here with Colt Gilt, Director of the Oregon Department of Education, and Dr. Dana Harganani, the Chief Medical Officer at the Oregon Health Authority. It wasn't even a full month ago, though I know it feels like years ago, that I ordered all Oregon schools to close temporarily in an effort to help stop the spread of the coronavirus in Oregon. Since then, we've implemented further orders asking Oregonians to stay home to the maximum extent possible, closing down restaurants and bars, and requiring social distancing at other businesses across the state. I know how hard this is on every single Oregonian, and I thank you for your sacrifice. I also know that the measures that we've put into place are necessary actions right now to save lives. I wish I could make it easier for everyone, and I wish I could eliminate the frustration that so many of us are feeling right now. My top priority will always be the health and safety of Oregonians. That is the forefront of my mind with every single decision that I make. To the best of my ability, I also want to provide Oregonians with as much information I have as quickly as possible so that you may have some certainty in these very uncertain times. We want to give you the ability to make plans for your children's education and for everyone's health and safety, especially because I know that social distancing orders have required huge sacrifices from our children, and that missing school is especially difficult on our students and their parents. To all the moms and dads, I can't imagine what you're up against, balancing parenting during this very scary crisis, while I know many of you have either lost a job or are trying to work from home with your kids there, all the time worried about education and figuring out homeschooling. This is really hard on parents, too. To that end, I can't imagine it's a surprise to anyone that we've really been struggling with how best to provide educational guidance during these extraordinary times. We have your kids and all Oregon students at the forefront of every decision that we make about school. Their health, happiness, and safety is a top priority. I know there is a lot of anxiety over how we will move forward. I know our students are extremely disappointed they are missing classes, prom, and graduation ceremonies. But the best thing we can do for the health of our children and for thousands of educators across the state is to give everyone certainty by announcing the decision today to close in-person classes for the remainder of the school year. School and learning will continue as best as we can using remote means. A core value of our schools is to place the student and their learning at the center of all of our decision making. We understand the incredible disruption this can have on each student's education. We all see the isolation and the challenges for our families, especially those who rely on school as a centering place for connection, community, and comfort. Every state in the country is struggling with these decisions. I am proud of the way our students have navigated this new world of unknowns and the efforts of our teachers, educators, and parents to rise up and meet the demands of this difficult new reality. This decision is important because it is about safety. It is first and foremost to protect our kids and our teachers. It is impossible to adhere to social distancing measures in our classrooms and our schools. Oregon's education workforce is typically older and potentially more vulnerable to COVID-19. We need to make sure we're keeping our students, teachers, principals, and school staff safe as well. There are also operating costs to schools in preparing for a potential reopening. Deciding to close now for the rest of the school year allows us to invest time and resources in the delivery of learning and supporting our students through distant education and remote means. I know this is certainly not what any of us were hoping for, but it is truly the best decision for our system. Now, for our high school seniors who are just weeks away from finishing out their last year of high school, I also want to provide the plan and how we will move forward. The Oregon Department of Education, in consultation with teachers and school districts across the state, has put together a plan that will honor the great work our students have completed through March, when we temporarily closed school, and still provide a pathway toward graduation. Concerns about equity for our houseless students, our students of color, our low-income students, and our vulnerable students are at the forefront of my mind when making public policy decisions that impact all Oregonians. This is part of the reason why I support this plan put forward by the Department of Education. All our high school seniors who were on track to graduate prior to the statewide school closure will receive a passing grade for their courses. This allows us to maintain Oregon's current graduation requirements. I refuse to punish students, many who have been in Oregon schools for over a decade, because they could not attend classes for a little over 2 months. However, for those students who did not have a passing grade in mid-March and need time to improve their grades in order to pass one or more classes needed for diploma, I'm asking our school districts to focus their efforts finding creative ways to get these seniors the extra attention they need to get across the finish line. It encourages our schools to develop alternative learning plans for our seniors, and we are already seeing schools deploy creative tactics that are locally driven and reflect the best interests of our kids. I expect nothing less in helping sure that seniors can graduate on time. In addition, I'm extending the existing executive order for Oregon's post-secondary education system to continue following distance learning through the end of the academic term. Oregon's public universities are also committed to ensuring that incoming freshman students who intend to enroll at our state institutions are considered fairly in light of the educational interruptions they have endured in their final year of high school due to COVID-19. No student admitted to public universities this fall will have their admission taken away due to changes in this new grading policy or inability to complete their coursework as long as they still graduate. So again, I know that schools closing for the remainder of the year is not the news that you had hoped to hear. However, I hope the plan to graduate our seniors and our commitment to continued learning removes some of the stress of uncertainty for our students and our parents across the state. I also want to take a moment this afternoon to really honor the educators who are dealing with this unprecedented situation. Our teachers, our principals, our superintendents, our counselors, bus drivers, and food service staff. I know how much you love your students and how much you love teaching. This is a really difficult time to be a teacher and to try and reach all of your students, assist them, and help them grow. I honor your creativity and public service during this historic time. Thank you for everything that you do. I think we're happy to take questions at this point.
With the helping you getting across the finish line, can you elaborate on what those tactics are?
Yeah, absolutely. So last week, the department put forward guidance to all of the school districts in the state called Distance Learning for All, kind of a 4-step process. The first step is to contact our students and reestablish that relationship between the educator and the family and the student. It's really important for our kids to know that there's another trusting adult out there that cares for them. Second, to ensure that they are physically safe and healthy, that they have access to meals and shelter. Third is to attend to any social, emotional, and mental and behavioral health needs that they may have. And then we dig into the learning. And this does look different across the entire state. We have to recognize that our communities in Oregon and the school districts that serve them are all unique. I want to be clear that distance learning is not synonymous with online learning, although it is online learning in some cases. It can take on the look of a teacher working with a large group of students over a video or audio conference call. It can look like one-on-one phone calls and video calls, or even posting a YouTube of a teaching session and then the students receiving that. We have places in Eastern Oregon where they don't have great internet connections, where our school buses are delivering learning packets to students, and they're bringing those back to the teachers and getting evaluative feedback on those. This year's seniors, we want them to know one thing for sure, and that is that we believe in them, I believe in them, I know Governor Brown believes in them, their teachers believe in them, their families support them day in and day out. We know that they can succeed. And what I would ask every senior out there to do is, if you haven't heard from your school yet, please know that they are trying to reach you, so reach out to them. The school's ready to support you on your pathway to graduation, helping you with financial aid forms and getting applications to community colleges or wherever you're headed next. They want to support you on your path to graduation.
I have a question for the governor specifically. Talking about test kits, why did you say that we'll have 20,000 test kits here in Oregon with a new contract signed if in reality there was no such contract signed? Also, what do you say to Oregonians who do feel like maybe you weren't telling the whole truth when you had the opportunity to correct yourself when the contract was actually signed, but you waited until an open records request was made by journalists in the city?
Look, what I would say to Oregonians is things are rapidly evolving, minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day, and we're providing as much information as we can as quickly as possible. In terms of testing, generally, we know that we have inadequate testing in the state of Oregon. I was just on the phone with my colleagues, the governors across the United States. Except for the 10 or 12 hot spots states, all of these other states are wrestling with the issues of adequate testing. I've been talking with hospitals and hospital systems the last several days, and they are frustrated by our lack of testing capacity. We're working with the private sector to increase our testing capacity, and honestly, we've got champions in Washington, D.C., like Senator Ron Wyden, who is calling the CEOs of these companies to make sure that Oregon gets their fair share.
Governor, we haven't seen you for a couple of weeks. What's the status of your health, and have you been retested?
I've had a cold. That's why you haven't seen me for a couple of weeks. Some of the folks here can see that I'm still coughing. And I have not been retested. My last test was negative. I'm in really good health.
So my question is, in our community, do we have immigrant families who are not still proficient in English? So how the education department is addressing this matter in order for those kids to get the proper resources and materials they need to continue their education and achieve all the learning goals they are supposed to reach?
This is a great question. So this is a question about our migrant families and families that may not have English as the language that they speak in their home. And again, we're working closely with our school districts. One of the things that we've said over and over again is that we need to work to meet every student, every family, and frankly, every educator and school district where they're at and work from that place forward. So our school districts do work with families of multiple languages across the state of Oregon every single day. What's really important right now is that when we make that first outreach to families, whether that's by phone or whether that's by, we've seen school buses full of teachers go through neighborhoods waving to their students to let them know that they're there for them. These contacts have to be in the language of the home, and our school districts know that. The guidance that we put out says that, and we will work to support those school districts in getting that done. We know that our migrant families are some of the most impacted at this time. Right? They are having trouble getting meals on the table. They can be more impacted because they have fear of entering the healthcare system. We're showing them the pathways to enter that are safe for them and don't risk their immigration status. Those resources are on the OHA website. Those resources are on the Oregon Department of Education website. They're in multiple languages, and we're here to serve those families because those families are the people we care about in Oregon. Yeah. So this is a question about, does this impact what's required under the current executive order for our school districts? So this is Governor Brown's executive order 2008. In order for our schools to remain to continue to receive funding, there's a variety of things that they have to do. So the first one is that they have to provide meal service to our students. We have districts right now that are actually providing more meals per day than they were when they had their doors open. So that, I think, also speaks to the needs of our families. Our school districts are also asked to be ready, and some of them are currently providing emergency childcare for healthcare workers and frontline workers and other essential workers. And our school districts are asked to provide distance learning, to connect with families, to make sure that they have what they need to be learning ready, and then to begin to dive into the most important learning. So those things are all required for them to continue to receive funding.
How is the state supporting schools and students that need devices, that need internet access?
Yeah, that's a great question. So this is a question about supporting districts that want to go to online learning, but some students either don't have internet access or don't have the device to do that learning on. So we have school districts around Oregon that have begun to partner with different organizations to put laptops or tablets or other devices in students' hands and provide Wi-Fi hotspots. Last week, we had school districts around the state complete a survey to let us know what their needs were around technology. We've also been reached out to by the Oregon Business Council, by Philanthropy in Oregon, that want to come to the table and review that survey and help us consider how we can, as a state, address those needs for districts, for students for the remainder of this year. At the same time, we also have to recognize that Wi-Fi hotspots typically work off cell service, and we have great swaths of Oregon that do not receive cell service. So this is an option that is available in parts of Oregon, and we can work with school districts and our business community and our philanthropy community to try to meet these needs, but there will be places in Oregon where we need to look at it differently.